Hello, wherever you are in the world today. Welcome to Beyond the Art and our series, The Stories That Carry Us. I'm your host, Craig Beaumont Flynn, a citizen of the Cherokee Nation and the Delaware Tribe of Indians. In each episode, we will discuss with various Native American artists, influencers, art leaders, and everyone in between their experiences, the communities they serve, and the translation and interpretation of the Native American art world today. Well, welcome to Beyond the Art, and today we have Tony Enos. Welcome to the show, Tony.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So why don't you go ahead and just start off the bat and tell us a little bit about your journey and your artistic endeavor and a little bit about your cultural heritage.
Sure thing. Tony Enos. Greetings. My name is Tony Enos. Many blessings from the Echota Cherokee tribe and from Philly, from South Philly. I've been a singer-songwriter, producer, and musician composer professionally for, I guess it's 15 years, since 2008. I started my own local label in Philadelphia. And been releasing music professionally under that label ever since. So I always, like to hold space in my artistry as a person living with HIV, as a two-spirit artist and musician, and as a multi-ethnic person, just trying to foster love and empower folks to be better for themselves in whatever way they feel is healthy as best I can.
So what took you to your musical endeavor and your musical direction to become a musician, an artist, a singer, songwriter?
Well, I actually come from a long line of musicians. My mom's father was a doo-wop singer with Columbia Records back in it was the 50s or 60s.
One of those, yeah.
Yeah, and then they had 6 kids, so that kind of was, it didn't give way to being he worked 2 jobs, rest his soul, to support the family and everything. My dad's dad played guitar and sang. I play guitar now, and just enough piano to produce a record, but I would never play piano live. You could cheat in the studio. So just always loved music and singing. I started writing when I was 11. Mm-hmm. My parents took me to see, he was a local producer, with one of the local TV stations. And I was 11. And he said to me, do you write music? And I was like, no. In my head, I was like, why would I do that? In my head, all these people that I had seen, all these artists that I look up to didn't write their own music. And he said to me, if you want to be taken seriously, you need to start writing your own music. And I tried and was horrible at it for a really long time. Mm-hmm. But eventually I got into the swing of it, started writing my own music. At 16, I signed with a local label in Philly. They didn't want me to record my own music. Of course, they wanted me to record their music so that they could keep all the royalties and all that. It was just a really bad fit. So I asked to be let out of the contract. It was a 3-year contract. Had to agree not to record in the industry for 3 years to be let out of the contract. So I sat for 3 years and I was like, this is really stupid. I'll never do this again. I'll never put it in somebody else's hands, So that's when I decided to start my own small label in Philly.
And what's the name of your label?
Little T Entertainment LLC.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm, Tony, and I'm only 5'6", so I feel like Big T would be a false advertisement.
Well, they would never know. How has your Native American identity influenced your work?
Tremendously. I think especially in the socio-political aspect and awareness of my work. Coming in the community over 10 years ago, I guess it really opened my eyes to, the reality of the land that we are existing on right now, and how it is the present doesn't exist in a vacuum away from the past.
Correct,
I think growing up in Philly too, when you ride through certain neighborhoods, certain places, and you see disenfranchised communities, I always tell people, realize that they're that way for a reason. It's very intentional, and it's very systemic. It's very systematic. So I think it's, that all really, being an Indigenous two-spirit artist was sort of the catalyst for that awareness of my work.
Mm-hmm. tell us a little about your artistic process and how you come up with the songs. And is it dreams? Is it just a tune? Is it,
Sometimes it's interesting when you get a song. I would say it just wanted to be written. It just woke me up out of my sleep. Or sometimes I will, songs will come in a dream and I jump up. Now I've learned that I just have to, if I don't get it on my voice recorder now on my phone, I'll regret it later. Sometimes I have a song called Joshua that's on the new album. And I had come home. This is just kind of how silly my brain is. I had come home one night and my mom was on the phone with somebody talking about American Idol. And she said, yeah, all the good ones went home. This one and that one and Joshua. And my dad said, who? And she went, Joshua. And it was just the way she lifted her voice that second time. Just something clicked. And I ran upstairs and grabbed my guitar. And so I wrote the song Joshua that's on the album now. So it could be really intentional or just something silly that will grab my ear. And I'll think, wow, if I need that a little, kind of like you need dough. If I need that a little bit, I think that could be something good. So yeah, that's, I don't have any real magic to report, unfortunately. It just, it could be random or.
You identify as a two-spirit artist. So how does that incorporate into your music as well? And tell us what being a two-spirit artist means to you.
Sure. I think cultivating awareness is important. I really believe representation matters. The term two-spirit and sort of the reclamation movement isn't that old.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, again, representation matters. So I like to empower other two-spirit folks through my music. Just sort of to, again, to take that place, that sacred place. We always say that the sacred hoop will be broken until two spirits are welcome back in. And I kind of take that saying for face value. And then there's the part of me that goes, well, why are we waiting to be welcomed back in? Like, let's take our place. So I do like to empower folks through my music. Yeah.
And how is that two-spirit identity incorporated into your music? Are there storylines that you're trying to express and translate so others that are two-spirit can understand where you're coming from? Or
so I have a song called Two-Spirit, mm-hmm. which is basically just about that. It's about, reclaiming that place. And then other songs are just about sort of having agency over yourself. I think mm-hmm. that's important, I think, for any individual. But then I think as Indigenous folks, there's been a lot of personal disenfranchisement or whatever. Right. A lot of like holding down of one spirit systematically and by the government and different things. So I think it's really important to empower other two-spirit folks through my music. So that's what I try to do. Whether it's, I think at the end of the day, the common thread is love.
Mm-hmm.
So whether that's love for yourself, for your nation, for the earth, and that relationship and everything that it gives us. But I think love is the common thread at the end of the day.
So tell us a little bit about your current album, Indestructible, and how that came about.
So I think I like to call it's a survivor's album. So it's a little bit of a Phoenix story, and it was the follow-up to my album entitled Positive, and I kind of used that as a catalyst to come out publicly about my HIV status.
Mm-hmm.
And so to just kind of follow, again, it's a very empowering album. And I hope something that'll just be good medicine for folks and that'll lift folks up. The song Indestructible is a cover of, I don't know if you're familiar with Robin.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a cover of her song. And I just thought it was a really nice message when I heard the song. And I talked to my sister. I was like, this is a great song. I should cover it. I can't even remember what the album was going to be called before I had heard the song. But yeah, it's a survivor's album and a little bit of a Phoenix story,
Rising.
Yeah.
He's rising.
Rising from the ashes. Yeah, absolutely.
So when you start formatting your album and you have all these songs, is there a base storyline you're trying to project to the listener, or is it just what you think is incorporated overall into that album?
It obviously varies from album to album. With Positive, the album before that, I really wanted to uplift the narrative of a person living with HIV.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of going through all those colors and those feelings that sort of, I kind of like to introduce an idea,
right.
work through the emotions and the colors first of all, it goes like this. It's a bit of a, I don't know what you call that, an arc,
swing or
swing,
arc,
an upside down arc, or, and then sort of coming out the other side of it. And so with Indestructible, it was really sort of about the growing up gay experience. And there's an interlude on there with my family talking about, just offering good words for families who have a loved one who has just come out, how to maybe process through it, how to be there for that person. And then I think coming into your own is very important. It's been important for me as an individual and as a person. And so coming into your own and exercising a sense of agency. And so it was 2 covers. It was that one. And then the album closes with a cover of Gloria Gaynor's I Will Survive. So it's a very
classic.
Yeah. And everything is like, there's kind of bluegrass, country, pop, hip hop. But it's a pop record at the end of the day. So I enjoy that fusion of everything.
So do you classify yourself in a certain genre? I mean,
I always say pop. I like to stay under that umbrella because I feel like it gives me a lot of freedom to explore, and I like being a pop artist. Yeah.
Can you describe any challenge you face as a Native American artist or a Two-Spirit artist, and how you overcome those challenges?
Sure.
And what advice would you give someone that's going through the same experiences?
I think to thine own self be true. You have to be who you are. I think as a pop musician, when people hear, when you're presented as a native artist, especially I think to non-native folks, people are ready for you to come in with the flute and the breechcloth on.
Right.
And that's not my native.
Right.
And so then to a lot of folks, I'm not native enough. And I could certainly take the energy and time to fight that, but I would never get anything done.
Yeah.
So I just stick to my own guns and I'm true to myself. And I think at the end of the day, I want to record music that I like. When I first was coming up, I was getting all this advice until I really got my own feet under me and I really found my own voice. You should sound like this and you should look like this. And now I just want to make music that I like, that I enjoy. And when other people get it and when they dig it too, that's what makes it so cool. And you kind of find kindred spirits in that sense.
Well, it pleases your heart and soul, and that's what's really important.
Exactly. So yeah, I think now in this stage, it's really about making music that I like, that I enjoy, and then usually, I have to tour with it and perform it. So it would really suck to do songs where I have to do this song again or whatever. So yeah, I want to enjoy it myself too.
So in the music industry and the recording industry and big labels, do you see a lot of challenges with them as well, given that there's not a huge amount of Native American artists on the radio play?
Absolutely. And I think the default, at least that I can only speak for myself, but what my experience has been with labels and then with people who I have had conversations, some managers and management companies, is right away they want to kind of hypersexualize.
Right.
And I do use my body and my sexuality in my work, but it's my doing. You know what I mean? It's not I'm not being forced to present in a certain way
or form. This is your persona, I guess.
And I could also take care in that. There was this one guy who was like, "We're going to make you the male Pocahontas," and I was like, I don't even know where to begin with him to let him know why that. Yeah, and it just along with a bunch of other crazy stuff. Like in the contract, they wanted 51% of my record company, the voting share. So that they couldn't tell me to do something and then I come back as the record company and say, no, we're not doing that. They wanted me to outright sign my whole catalog of music over to them, which at that point was 10 years. So they would just, get all the rights. So, yes, it's very, it can be very, and I think, especially I speak with a lot of, Native artists and young folks who are just coming into their own. And I try to give them, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but I just try to make them aware of the pitfalls, I think, especially for Native artists and what the industry is prone to doing because of their formulas that they like to have and, with how they like to treat Native artists often.
So what motivates you, inspires you as a musician and performing artist?
I just love what I do. I really, really, truly love I don't say I am many things because I am that I am. But I am a musician. It really just is something that's ingrained. Like my spirit must be a guitar. It is who I am. So I just really do genuinely love music and I love performing. But then I think there's just a certain. So again, that common thread is love.
Right.
That's that motivation. If I can foster a little bit of love, and maybe open that or offer that to someone, or help somebody find it, whatever that looks like. But to me, that's what makes it all worth it.
So collaboration and community are important aspects of Indigenous cultures. Have you collaborated with other artists and worked with them on stuff?
Yeah. Roger Coons, who is Porch Creek.
Right.
And he's been a singer-songwriter, producer he's an incredible artist, an incredible songwriter, an incredible talent. So I've collaborated with him. I don't know. I feel like I'm blacking out on other people. I have had the extreme honor and privilege of working with not only in the music industry, but in theater and in New York, some amazing Indigenous artists, Joan Henry, John Scott Richardson. So it's been just a blessing, to share space with those people.
Right. So tell us about your new upcoming album that's going to be released.
So the new album is called The Boss, and it is a cover of the 1979 Diana Ross song The Boss. A few little updates here and there, and it comes out in 2026.
Okay,
because that will be my 20-year posiversary. I always say HIV's been living with me for 10 years. I think it's 17 years now. So HIV's been living with me for 17 years. I'm the boss. I'll always be the boss.
Right.
So that was how we decided that should be, a cover and the name of the song. And again, it just really I like that Phoenix theme. So it's another Phoenix album, sort of the rising from the ashes.
So 2026. So you had some time to actually really dive deep and create various storylines and songs. And how did you do that process? And can you share some of those songs with us? Sure.
Again, I felt like there was an idea that I wanted to present. The album opens with a song called Pride. And it's really, there's a great line that says, I don't look up to no one, but I don't look down on no one either. So it's really just sort of, again, presenting this idea of agency, having agency over oneself. And then it goes back a little bit sort of into the muck of things. And then we emerge.
We come out
stronger, better at the end. Yeah. And it's also a real opportunity. I wanted to take a chance to say thank you to the people that have really been there for me and supported me and showed me love. And so there's some songs on this album that just say thank you. And then some other themes, spirituality, all those good Phoenix things that give way to the rising, to exalting one's spirit and one's heart. So what elements do you incorporate your heritage and cultural background as a Cherokee artist as well, as a two-spirit artist? How do you kind of tie that into the songs that you develop and think, okay, well, this is more of a pop song. This is more about me as being a HIV positive person, or this is more about two-spirit, or this is about this. I mean, how do you decipher all that into your head all at once? Well, it's interesting that you should say that because, you write a song one particular way. Music's kind of like surgery. Sometimes you don't know what it's going to be like until you get in there.
Right.
And so just because you have an idea doesn't mean it's going to work. So sometimes I'll be like, and we're going to do this and it'll be like that. And then you go to do it and you're like, this doesn't work. It sounds crazy. But I think from a native perspective and what I try to incorporate, I think things that could be pan-Indigenous, lots of Wayahayas. And, like when you go to a powwow and hear the Wayahaya songs, everybody kind of knows what that is and is with it and it's on the same page. Soundscapes are important. So instruments that I choose, percussion in particular. Again, I think if you went to a powwow, everybody knows those grass dancer bells.
Yep.
And then as a traditional dancer, Southeastern Woodland tribe, I wear my deer toes, so that kind of clacking sound. So I think creating soundscapes that I hate to say would sound audibly native, but that would sound audibly native, for lack of a better term.
Well, that was going to be my next question: is how do you bridge traditional and contemporary elements, and how do you navigate the balance between honoring your cultural traditions and expressing your individual artistic vision, be it in the direction of being a two-spirit or this or that. How do you navigate in those lanes, I guess?
Right. Again, all I can ever really do is take accountability and responsibility for myself and my own happiness, my own health, my own sense of agency. So the things that are true for me, the things that feel good to me, that feel effective as an artist and as a producer, I'm always fascinated when I come across something that was done effectively and that moves the needle or the bar in the industry. And then you see it replicated time and time again in the industry because it was done so effectively. So I'm always watching, I'm always looking for those things. But again, I'm always just true to myself and what feels good to me, what makes me happy. So really, I think centering my own joy is that's the center. I center my own joy and I center my own sense of agency in all of it.
So given technology, how do you get airplay now? Do you still have to go out on the road and do tours and little gigs? And do you have to send the albums to radio? What's the process?
It's one of the things that has been an Achilles heel for me in particular, because I'm just not fond of the way radio, there's a saying right now, hits aren't made, they're created. Like they're not made in the studio, they're created by the radio stations. Right. The stations that are being paid to play someone's record every hour on the hour. You don't even like the song, but you know it. By the end of the work week, that you've driven that 5 days and you've heard that song every hour on the hour, and here you are singing, the song. And so it's I just kind of let everything in divine order. And so, now it's about playlists, to get on Spotify playlists and all that. So when I have a new record that comes out and that I think it has legs, I'll send it out to, again, the DJs that want to play it, that have been supportive to me. And if there's someone that I come across that I think we have maybe something in common or whatever, I'll give it to them. But it's really been about forming relationships with those individual DJs because the corporate side of it sucks. Yeah.
So do you have a huge stockpile of songs? I mean, what's your process when you have an idea? Do you just write down a few words? Do you instantly start writing that song? And do you put it away until it comes back to you?
I kind of feel guilty because I have some really beautiful writing journals that people have bought, gifted me over time. And I can't remember the last time I sat with pen and paper. Everything is on my, on my iPhone, notes on my, it's funny when I'm looking for like a chord chart, I write it. So I'll write the lyrics out. I like to finish it in one shot if I can. Some things I feel like I'm forcing it or I'm forcing it to be something. So that's when I'll go, let's put that away until it comes to me genuinely because I'm forcing it to try and sound like this or trying to force it that way. But I do like to finish it in one shot if I can. And then I'll put the chords in there too. So I know what key I'm supposed to be singing it in. And so to that, if I'm always surprised when I go back to my notes, I'm like, I didn't create a chord chart for that one. What was I thinking? But yep, everything is on my iPhone, and it's all digital and electronic these days. But that's the process. I'll grab my guitar, and I also have a piano on my phone, a little piano app. Okay. So if I'm on the train or on the airplane,
you're going like this.
Exactly, like a crazy person. People must be like, "What is he doing?" Because the keys are so tiny. It's on your phone. And I'm trying to. But that's the process.
So do you look back a lot from the first album to your current one that's coming out? Do you kind of look at it and like, okay, this is my journey. Where am I going to go next? Or you just, again, take that natural transition and just let it flow? And do you see the difference of, wow, I was this person and now I'm this person? And do you ever self-reflect a lot?
I like to self-reflect and spiritually reflect a lot. I don't like to have an exercise in ego. So I really try to be aware of that and not to engage in that too much because I feel like ego just chokes off all the creativity.
Right.
So I'd like to reflect just a little bit, but the point of power is always in the present moment. So I like to notice the growth. That, of course, that's all you could ever hope for as an artist is to grow and grow in your craft and for your product to reflect, so that record comes out 2026, that it should reflect all those years of artistry. At least I feel for myself. I want to hear that that growth for myself. That's what will please me as a producer too.
Do you self-manage your time and saying, okay, I'm going to put an album out in 2 years and I got to get to work? Or is it just the natural flow of when it comes to you, it comes to you?
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
So I believe in setting micro goals. So I really enjoy producing the music as the musician. And then the vocals, I kind of drag ass on a little bit. I'm like, I'll get to it. I'll get it done. I'll record it, So, but I try to set the micro goals. I would like to have, 2 songs in the pre-production at least finished, each month, 2 songs a month. And that way I can move it. You gain some yardage on it,
right,
without getting to where I really procrastinated and been like, how am I going to do? And then, because you also have to surrender it at some point.
Right.
Art is surrendered. You have to surrender it at some point, so that when it's time to do that, I'm not literally sitting there to the last moment, which I've done, mastering, which is when I pull my hair out that I don't have. That you're sitting there and for a point of a decibel, you're sitting there for 3 hours just trying to get the snare right or this level right. So now I set the micro goals and I try to stay on track.
Do albums and LPs still have artwork, and do you participate in that process?
I usually do it all myself. Do it yourself. Pop, exactly. Do it yourself. Pop music at its finest. So it's not as how would you say, as much as it used to be. It was sort of like the liner notes in the booklet. Now you pretty much have the cover, and if you're going to do a back cover, and that's it. And then all the promos are really kind of where all the work goes in, having however long you're going to do that first round of promotion, second round of promotion, how many promos you want to go. So that's sort of where all the digital art legwork comes in at. But yeah, I like to, or if I decide that I'm going to let somebody else do it, then I just try to really just drop the rope. Like someone wanted to remix my song Two Spirit. And I was like, yeah, that'd be great. And he was like, let me know if you want this. Or I was like, nope, this is, because then I might as well just do it myself. You know what I mean? Exactly. I feel like, again, it's an exercise in ego. Like, why would I have somebody remix it if I'm just going to micromanage? So yeah, if I'm having somebody else do something, then I try to just sit my ass down and do the job. Because I don't want to be micromanaged either.
Right. So do you tour? Do you go out and do gigs?
Yes. So, that's really what I live for. Being there and getting the opportunity, the extreme blessing to share space with people and share music and maybe offer something of value in that moment. And just if I'm on stage for 15 minutes, I just want to love on everybody in that space for 15 minutes. So that's really the reason I do this work. So during the summer and the spring, I usually do a lot of music festivals, prides, outdoor-ish stuff. And then in the fall months, pretty much late October through early December, it's usually a lot of college touring, which is great because you get the opportunity to spend time with these young folks who are maybe just starting to figure out life for themselves. They're stepping out of their, the mental conditioning from their home and their parents, and they're trying to make sense of life in the world for themselves. So I really am, I get kind of chills just talking about, but I appreciate that blessing and that opportunity to hopefully I can offer something of value in that moment. Yeah.
So what would you tell to a younger person that's interested in going your path and becoming a performance artist and musician, especially someone of Native American, Indigenous background? What would you say to them in advice?
I always say own as much of yourself as you can. If you can write, whatever you do, do all the things. Copyright your music. For $50, it's not worth the migraine of going to court, all these court calls, you know what I mean? So invest in yourself first. And I found that there's that saying, don't tell me what you're going to do, show me what you've done, and then maybe I'll cut the check. So really making that initial investment in yourself first, I think is so crucial. If you, and it also depends on, speaking specifically to being a musician, if you want to be a singer or if you want to be in the music business. Listen, if you want to be in the music business, you better savvy up on the business a little bit. You could be a singer and work in clubs and just kind of run around town forever, But if you want to really be in the music business, you have to make those initial investments yourself. And to that, start where you are, use what you have. If you're just starting out your career, nobody expects you to be Beyonce. But I think if you show that, and Beyonce ain't even, as we think of her, she's got a team. Mm-hmm. So if it's you, and most of the time my creative team has been 1 to 4 people, so start where you are, use what you have, and to thine own self be true.
So after 2026 and your next album, what's the next step for Tony Enos?
I'm just going to get prettier now. Again, I think just keep growing as an artist. Maybe producing for others some more. Mm-hmm. I enjoy that. I enjoy working with new artists, helping them find their voice. It's not easy to be that vulnerable. Mm-hmm. So yeah, just I love to help, and I love to see new artists get their feet under them and step into themselves. So a lot more of that, I hope.
Is there anyone out there that you can think of that you really want to work with that you haven't yet?
There's there's a lot of folks. I always thought, so there's a new artist, a new queer artist. His name is Troy. I'm going to trash his last name. Troy Sevion, I think his name is.
Name sounds familiar.
I should probably Google it so I'm pronouncing his name right. He has a song out called Rush, but he's a new sort of dance music artist, and I think it would be really fun and cool to collaborate with him. And if you should hear this and I trash his name, I apologize. I think, which would kind of be really interesting, Matteo Bocelli, so Andrea Bocelli's son. Mm-hmm. He's incredible.
Yeah.
So to work with somebody like that, and he has a new album out. It's very mid-tempo. There's not a lot of dance,
right?
Or there's pretty much no dance. So I was like, God, what would it sound like with this kind of voice if he were to really like slam something down and put down a dance check? So Matteo Bocelli, I think that would be amazing. But I'm always open to collaboration. I love the spirit of collaboration.
So you mentioned Roger. Are there any other native and non-native artists that really have influenced your path?
Buffy St. Marie. I would love to write and produce something for her. But I mean, she's a songwriter, that's who she is. She's someone who has definitely influenced. I covered her Up Where We Belong. I always loved her version. Everybody is used to hearing the orchestral, either the film score or, in that last 5 minutes, it's like big band and it's you. My mom said when we went to the movies to see this, she said it was so loud, the music at the end. I said, they was trying to sell that record, child. They wanted you to go home and buy the record. But I've always really endeared to her songwriter version, which is acoustic and just really sweet and vulnerable. So that was kind of how I modeled my cover. Mm-hmm. But and then all her socio-political music and talking about Native issues and land and ethical treatment of land and land back and, the government. She was a tremendous influence on me. Yeah.
Is there anything that you haven't done that you really want to set your mind to and achieve at some point?
I would like to do more acting, more film. I did a small project with Amarinda in New York City. And it was just a small side role. I got to play a college kid at 30 something. But that should be coming out pretty soon. And of course, I'm blacking out on the name of the film. But that should be coming out soon. But it's by Amarinda. But I would love to center more queer stories and see that really become more commonplace than, when you're flipping through TV and you're like, oh my God, it's a gay movie. Out of 150 channels, this is the one network showing a gay film. So I'm a little intimidated by script writing. It seems so daunting. But if you don't write it, it doesn't happen.
True.
So
you got to tell a story. You might as well tell it yourself.
Exacto, yeah. So I would like to try and prioritize that in the years to come.
Do you think you'll want to do a screen? A script?
Again, so much of my career has just been necessity. Out of necessity, I've had to do X, Y, and Z. So, I'll probably just do it anyway. If I don't do it, it won't. Nobody's going to tell your stories for you.
Exactly.
And if they do, it's usually 100 years after you're dead. So I think, just out of necessity, I'll do it myself. And I think that's one of the important things in the industry too, is knowing when you're when you need some outside assistance.
Mhm.
I don't know if I'm good at it yet or not, but if I'm not, rest assured I'll be, calling on some script writers I know.
So, to the non-native, how would you describe the two-spirit identity? Because a lot of people don't understand the two-spirit identity. And
Right.
it's an educational process.
Very
And I
much
think
so.
the dictionary terms just don't really fit.
Right.
They're very cut and dry.
Right. So I think, those of us who are familiar with the term two-spirit, especially within our respective nations, know it's an umbrella term to unite, queer, indigenous people, indigiqueers. But that doesn't negate the terms that our respective nations have for their gender fluid, gender queer, gender non-conforming people and what those roles may have looked like in those particular tribes, because this is what life was like living on that land. I think it's a lot of information to throw up on someone who isn't native,
right?
To try and get them to really understand sort of, indigenous concepts if they're not familiar with them, and why being two-spirit is different from being gay. That you could be two-spirit and gay, but to be two-spirit is, at least for me, it definitely has had a spiritual component. And I always say for myself, I can only speak for myself. I'm very, to look at me, very male presenting, but inside of me, there's a mother, and there's a mother instinct and a very maternal instinct, for lack of a better term. And for me, that's where the intersectionality is. And so that's how I've sort of taken up the role, looking after our young folks, our youth, especially our indigenous youth, trying to pour good medicine into their spirits. And then the same with our elders. Pray prayers that need to be prayed. Foster healing, if I can. So for me, that's what the taking up the role of two-spirit has looked like. There's some really amazing two-spirit societies across Turtle Island, or what they now call the United States.
Right.
There's the Tulsa Two-Spirit Society, obviously, here. One of that just holds a really, really special place in my heart is the Montana Two-Spirit Society. Their gathering is just incredible every year, and there's just always amazing medicine, and it's just an experience that I'm grateful for every time that I've ever been to one.
And that's the Montana one?
The Montana Two-Spirit Society, yeah. They're really fantastic, and they're very careful and intentional, and they make sure that there's, good medicine if they're having, it's a great gathering, without getting too much into it.
Because there really isn't any, or a lot of two-spirit festivals or two-spirit organizations.
Right.
They're very few and far between, which hopefully will help with identity and security and education to both natives and non-natives of the identity and purpose and the understanding, I think. Yeah. So where does Tony want to be in 10 years?
Just healthy and with my family and with the people I love. That's all I could really ask for. For me, my three-legged stool is safety, peace, and freedom. So really still fostering those things and taking care of the folks I love. To me, that's success. Being able to be there for the things that my family needs. I would like children. We'll see where that goes. I always say I'm on the 5-year plan, but the 5-year plan keeps getting moved. So
that number keeps on increasing.
Absolutely, yeah. So I would love children and to have a family. We'll see what happens. Everything in divine order. But again, just creating, always making music, and I just think that's something I'll do until I finish it, and it's time to go.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So Tony, tell us a little bit about being an artist and living with HIV.
Sure. So I was diagnosed with HIV 2 weeks before my 22nd birthday, I believe it was, in 2006. And I always said it was like the biggest heartbreak of my life at the time. And with the awareness that I had and with the tools that I had, or maybe didn't have, I should say at the time, it was difficult. And there was a lot of years of unpacking all the stigma that I carried, all the shame that I carried, which really wasn't mine. It was, I had initially felt like in my head, I felt like I let everybody down, like I had become a statistic. So I had a lot of healing to do. I was very slow to accountability. So I couldn't understand why God let this happen to me, you know? And so again, I think taking accountability for your own healing and not hinging it or something or someone outside of yourself, at least for me, has been, because as long as it hinges on someone or someone else, you have to wait for them to change, for them to be. But if you take accountability and responsibility for your own healing, then you get to move through it at your own pace and a much quicker pace. And so, I wasn't coerced. I wasn't forced. I chose to have unprotected sex. And, that was the luck of the draw. I think people tend to demonize folks who get HIV. I think especially there's a lot of religious stigma, kind of like, well, that's what you get for being a fast ass. Right. And the truth is, that was the first long-term relationship I had ever been in, and the first time I had ever had unprotected sex. So again, it was just the luck of the draw. But once I was able to find the purpose in it, and really get involved, and that really moved the needle on my healing. I didn't come out about it until, what was that? 2016, I think, when the Positive album was released. I didn't tell my parents for 8 years, which I was glad about, because by the time I did, I had started right away working in nonprofit and public health, and I became an HIV tester and counselor and case manager. So I was able to tell them with 8 years of knowledge versus the initial panic and brokenness that I had felt. So I was glad that I waited the 8 years to tell them. And then really, the rest of it was, I just wanted to be able to work, and I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to work. A lot of times when you tour, or when you're doing a show, like even in theater, I've done shows where, there's no understudy. So you have to sign that you promise that you will make every show. And I didn't want people to think that I was sick, or that I was going to get sick, and that I couldn't make every show, or that I wasn't insurable, when you go to tour. So I was worried about not being able to work. And so then finally, the catalyst was I performed at the United States Conference on AIDS. We had the largest Native contingent that year. So I was the only Indigenous Two-Spirit performer. I got to open the conference, and I decided that I was going to stay in the closet about it, that I wasn't going to. And I felt like I missed so many opportunities for community to just be like, hey, me too, or get, this too shall pass, or whatever. And so again, when we left, literally, when we got in the taxi to the train station, I was like, this was so stupid. I'll never do this again. I'll never stay closeted in an affirming space. And it was such a wonderful and affirming space. And I just caused myself, so much more anxiety and stress than I needed to. So we started to talk about what it would look like if I were to come out. And I was like, well, I'm a musician. That's what I do. I should come out through music. And so that's sort of, and then coming home, speaking of the process, I was walking home from the grocery store, and I wrote the Positive song that's on the title track of the record. I was like, well, I guess there's no turning back now. And so that's sort of how that came to be. And I decided, and I always knew it would come to me when it was time. It was just time. And I was tired of carrying it. By the time I came out about it, I was exhausted of carrying it. So it's never been something I've regretted.
Being a public figure, do you still see a lot of stigma and preconceived ideas being an HIV artist from the time you came out and told everyone to now?
There's still some stigma. And then sometimes we go from one stigma to the other. And so we're to a new stigma. And so it was so funny to see the age of PrEP come in.
Right.
And then you hear people being called PrEP whores and things like that, like putting people down for being on PrEP and for taking control of their own health and their own sexual health. And I was like, what are we doing? Why is that a thing? So I've seen, I don't want to pretend that I haven't seen the growth and the good things and the growth in programming and outreach and access, which is important, making people feel safe. And then I think making sure that we are creating programs and spaces where our two spirits and our Indigenous people, and especially people that are living on the res, feel safe and can access, if Helen lives around the block and works at IHS too. And you know, she's going to tell all your business. Of course, you're not going to go get tested there. Of course, you're not going to go get prepped there. So making sure that there's safer spaces and access.
And access, yeah.
Yeah. So, and Montana Two-Spirit Society, again, they are one of the, David Herrera, who works with the LGBTQ clinic out there and makes sure that there's testing and access. They're really wonderful. They have testing every year at the gathering. So they're really wonderful in their HIV AIDS work. Yeah.
Do you see a level of discrimination higher on the Native American side of being HIV than the non-Native?
I see information deserts.
Mm-hmm.
And so I try to be understanding that that's intentional. That's intentional by the government, systematically. There's information deserts and there's lag. So I try not to, again, have an exercise in ego when I come across that and try to be of service and offer some assistance. Again, I see fear.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think people are afraid. People don't want to be guilty by association.
Right.
So I see fear. And so I try to offer the love that can hopefully help in dissolving that fear. But yeah, it's a thing.
Unfortunately, it's still a thing. It's just education. I think people like you that get out there and get the word and tell people and tell your story, I think helps provide a light at the end of the tunnel, especially if a son or a daughter that could be HIV. So congratulations and thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Tell us a little bit about growing up in Philly.
Sure.
Is Southside?
South Philly, man. Born and raised.
And being Native American and LGBT, a gay person and Two-Spirit.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that and everybody knows I'm like the unofficial, welcome ambassador for Philly. But one of the things that does drive me crazy and that I work toward and that I'm glad to see other Indigenous folks and organizations working toward, I think, is the lack of awareness. When I lived in New York is very, there's a large concentration of urban Indians in New York, very intertribal. And so I felt like you were allowed to be a contemporary there. Like we're also your neighbors and your doctors and in Philly, sometimes it feels like you're still the statue on the front of City Hall. So, and I feel like there's also a lot of cognitive dissonance in Philly where Indigenous folks are concerned. So there's still some work to do. I am proud of the progress we have made. You walk through South Philly now, and I'm always elated to see the rainbow flags that are hanging outside of people's houses now. Because when I was growing up, your house would have got egged. You know what I mean? If you tried that. So it's great to see. But again, people being there, people creating visibility, having conversations and relationships with other people. In the middle is where the understanding happens. So like major props and shout out to those people who have moved the needle on awareness and change in Philly and South Philly in particular. Because, I was in fights every day growing up.
Right.
Every day.
I wouldn't say the grass is not always greener on the other side of the track sometimes. So it's a little harder. What would you tell your 19-year-old self, if you could? What would you tell them?
Oh my. You have to put a value on your love first before you can expect anybody else to. Not to go looking for that in other people or places, but really to cultivate that in yourself. So put a value on your love first and on yourself first. If it doesn't matter in a year, it doesn't matter. I think when we're young, even especially in grade school, and I was pretty bad in grade school, but I wish I was so much worse. I would have, because that's sort of your scope of awareness. You're like, this is going to be my life forever. And actually it's over in 8 years. I wish I was a terror. But if it doesn't matter in a year, it doesn't matter. Don't carry unnecessary spiritual and emotional baggage, and don't carry what's not yours to carry. And that's not something that we teach young folks a lot. And that is one of the reasons I love doing college touring so much and helping young folks begin to really step away from hopefully a well-intentioned mental conditioning from their family and caretakers, and really helping them cultivate agency and finding out what the world means to them. So all those things.
Well, your story is amazing. Have you mentored anyone? Has anyone come up to you and say, please take me under your wing?
I've had some, it's so funny. I've had people come up to me and be like, sign me. Why don't you sign me? Sign me to your record label. And I'm like, there's no reason in 2023 that I should sign you and take cuts of your money and whatever, So I think people know that I'm there for, and I mean, even as it pertains to HIV and people always know that I'm there and that they can send me a message, if God forbid they should get that diagnosis, or even if they just have a question or whatever. Right. So I'm there, and I want people to know I'm there, and that I'm a safe person to reach out to come out to ask questions, to make mistakes, so I've been blessed to. I haven't had children yet, but I haven't been short on children to nurture or young folks to nurture. So I've been blessed in that sense to have.
Have you ever thought about if you didn't take this journey to be a performing artist and musician, what else you'd be doing?
I'd be a baseball player.
Really?
I love baseball. I really, really do. Yeah.
Who's your favorite fan? Or not band, damn it. Who's your favorite team?
The Phillies, of course. Yeah.
Yes.
So you need me to turn my hat back around.
Exactly. There you go.
It's we're the worst fans and we're the best fans in baseball, and especially right now this year we have an incredible, and they're just hungry. They want it. They play like they want it. But I love the game. I played on the gay leagues in Philly for a while. Well, yeah, it was a blast.
What position?
Center field. Number 31. Yeah, it was
That's
great.
where all the fly balls goes.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, it's a big responsibility. But I'm fast. I'm short, but I'm fast. I outran it. My ex and I living in New York. It was the summer, so I had flip-flops on. We almost missed the train. I was like, we are not missing this train. So I outran the train, and my ex went, you outran a train in flip-flops. That's pretty impressive. So I'm short, but I'm fast.
Any closing comments? Any word of advice for a listener that's same trajectory, same pathway as you, and not knowing where to go and being two-spirit? And
I think just center and prioritize your own joy. You are allowed to center and prioritize your own joy, your own health. That's my guiding star for me now. Entering 40, I'll be 40 next year. Is it healthy? Is it healthy for me to do this, to engage in this? When you don't have your health, you don't really have much of anything.
Right.
So really centering my joy, my peace, my health. And again, I'm coming to this now at 40. So if I can help young folks cut those teeth and create that lexicon for themselves, to thine own self be true, center your own health, center your own joy, and to thine own self be true.
So do you have any tour dates coming up in early 2024?
Nothing as of yet.
Nothing booked yet?
Nothing as of yet. So we'll see. Things all... Sometimes it's
start forming and developing, and
sometimes folks wait 2 weeks to people who go for that on Indigenous Peoples Day and Native American Heritage Month.
Right.
They don't think about it all year, and then they realize they got to spend some money and create some programming.
Now.
Exactly. So, but yeah, I'll be the usual suspects. I'll be at all the prides and the all the summertime festivities. I'll be there.
Right. Well, Tony, is there anything else you want to promote? And where can someone reach out to you? Or you have a website, Instagram, and all that other good stuff?
Yes, sir. TonyEnosmusic.com, TonyEnos music.com. Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, just at Tony Enos, TonyEnos.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, sir, it's been a pleasure. And thank you so much for coming in today.
Likewise. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
been in every corner of the world, searching for myself too. And I've come back down the highway just so I can tell you there ain't no place. Oh, there ain't no place. Oh, there ain't no place like, no place like home. No place like home. I never thought I'd be so happy, feel so glad to see each and every face. I've missed you. Thought what I wanted was somewhere out there, but I was wrong. 'Cause what I needed all along was your love. I've been in every corner of the world, searching for myself too. And I've come back down the highway just so I can tell you there ain't no place. Oh, there ain't no place. Oh, there ain't no place like, no place like home. How many times I just wish that I could click my heels 3 times and move on. Got my affairs in order, packed in the car. Click 1, 2, 3. Welcome home. Oh, 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 oh. There ain't no place. Oh, there ain't no place. Oh, there ain't no place like, no place like. There ain't no place. Oh, there ain't no place. Oh, there ain't no place like, no place like home. No place like home. No, there ain't no place like, no place like home. Even in the dark, even in the night, I always knew the sun would rise. So I just held tight to my dream. I believed all the way I couldn't believe. Even in the now, when things get rough, I always know the sun gon' come up. And I'm a faith to move mountains. And yes, I'm absolutely positive. Life ain't always what it seems. I always knew the sun would rise. So I just held tighter to my dreams. I believed harder when I couldn't believe. Even in the now, when things get rough, I always know the sun gon' come. And I'm a faith to move mountains. And yes, I'm absolutely. Even in the dark, even in the night, I always knew the sun would rise. So I just held tighter to my dreams. I believed harder when I couldn't believe. Even in the now, when things get rough, I always know the sun gon' come. And I'm a faith to move mountains. And yes, I'm absolutely positive. Yes, I'm absolutely positive.
I give to the world's good enough. My spirit and my heart are good enough. No matter what people say, I decide and I arrange who I am inside, the real me inside. And this is who I am. I can't be no one else, oh no. This is who I am. I've gotta be myself, yeah, yeah. And if you don't like it, that's alright. But it won't change what's in my heart to say. Hey, hey, this is who I am. The person in the mirror looking back, a champion and a warrior, that's a fact. Everything that I've been through lets me know that I can do it for you and no one else. Believe in yourself. This is who I am. I can't be no one else, oh no. This is who I am. I've gotta be myself, yeah, yeah. And if you don't like it, that's alright. But it won't change what's in my heart to say. Hey, hey, this is who I am. No matter what people say, I decide and I arrange who I am inside, the real me inside. This is who I am. I can't be no one else.